You want to start now, Councillor Quinnen?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Could I welcome and thank you all for joining us at our Handsworth Ward Forum meeting. We will be hearing from the officers shortly. I'd like to advise that this meeting is being held in public and a recording will be available for public future record and also on YouTube. Could I remind those who would prefer not to appear publicly, please turn off the cameras on your screen. The purpose of this meeting is to discuss our Handsworth Ward matters. Anyone wishing to raise an issue or ask a question should do so by raising their virtual hand or by using the chat box. I will invite you to speak. Those people wishing to speak should try to inform the debate currently in discussion. There are some slight changes to our agenda. In item 3, please delete Crick Lane gating proposal. And in item 4, highways, please put Crick Lane gating proposal. We will discuss this there. Right, and James O'Sullivan, the senior landscape architect, has kindly provided us a brief update on Handsworth Park project progress. I'm pleased to read this, and if you have any comments to make or questions to ask, please raise them at item 6, any other business. Just thought, that's now James saying to me in email, just thought I would get in touch to update you on the works. Hope you would agree it is looking much better. All cleaned out, thanks heavens for a dry summer. Lake works almost complete. Beach nearly there, just needs some time to settle. Next, the marginal planting will go in, but won't look much until next spring. They will be finishing the fencing next week to stop most of the leaves blowing into the water. And then the fitness equipment will go in higher up the park. Delayed until mid-November due to supply problems. After that, the tree planting and meadow creation are meeting Lee Southall soon to discuss location. So that is the update that we have got. So if you would like to make any comment on that or ask any questions or raise issues that we need to consider, you can raise it at any other business. So let's move on to item 3, waste management. We aim to revisit this item until we are satisfied that we are making the progress that we need. The council has announced recently that our ward will benefit from the £7 million investment in waste management. We'd like to know and discuss the following 3 things. How the council is helping us to work together to prevent and stop fly tipping in our ward. We will be hearing about the mobile household recycling centre. What steps the council is taking to educate those who need to learn to dispose of their rubbish legally. For example, putting the right items in the recycling bins so that they can be collected. And about enforcement provision. When are we getting the CCTVs? So could I thank Leslie for attending this meeting? And Leslie, I will ask you to tell us more about these issues. And most importantly, what role could we as residents, councillor, play in order to help? Over to you, Leslie.
Yes, good evening, Councillor. Good evening, everybody. I'm making quick notes, Councillor, on your questions. It was the first one. Was it fly tipping you was asking about?
Yes.
Okay. So, as at the last meeting, I highlighted that we're doing lots of things, and we got some money being given to us to try some new initiatives. One of them you may have seen in your street, and that's the mobile HRWC housing recycling centre. So we'll come along to the street and we will notify you via a letter through your door and councillor through the councillor's local links. And what we're looking to do there is to take away any old bric-a-brac that we don't want anymore. Items of recycling of electrical items, so it might be an old television you've got or an old hairdryer, anything that's electrical, we will take. We will also, if it's of good usable use, we will take that away with the view of reusing it. So we've opened up a reuse shop over in Tysley. It's the beginning of our plans and it's the first one. And what we're doing there, we're taking some of these items there, which are obviously double checked, and then they're given away to less fortunate people in our society. When Penny Bar is being regenerated, we are asking if we can have something similar in place in or around the depot to do something similar. What we have found with the mobile HRC site is we've had a good uptake. Lots of residents are getting involved and bringing some of their unwanted goods. And what we're finding is that someone might bring something and there's an exchange going on at the back of the vehicle and people are saying, well, can I have that? Rather than scrap it or throw it away. And people are actually reusing it at the back of the vehicle and taking it away. We do send out when we're coming to certain areas or certain roads within the ward, and we're looking to come to the ward as often as possible. So we have identified across the 69 wards of the city that some wards might need a bit more support than others. And I think Handsworth is one of those in the top 6. So we are looking to organise and arrange to come more often to your ward councillor so we can be a bit more active within. Part of the other things that we're doing around, I wrote it down from my memory, education. We're looking to devise some more flyers, some notices to give to residents about what we can recycle and what we can't. I'm not proud to say that Birmingham is not as good as what we'd want to be with recycling. And I think there's a lot of things that have added to that, not least industrial actions we've had, etc. So we want to get back out with residents, knocking doors, asking people, why they're mixing waste and educating them so that they don't. And we've got a number of people that are doing that with us. So waste enforcement, which I'll come on to in just a minute. But we've also got another initiative called Lovely Streets. And the Lovely Streets guys and girls, they will come along and work within the community, look at some real bad hotspots. I know Crick Lane, the gates would be really welcomed by me for one, but it's been a perpetual problem. And it's what we need to do to bring different partners together to deal with issues like Crick Lane and other areas where there's continual dumping, there's continual heavy littering, or there's bad recycling. So we're looking to come and do some door knocks, etc. And what we want is, we want residents, and anyone that wants to get involved to come and do that with us. So if people that have a local group or whatever, if we can make contact with them, and I would suggest if we can do it via your councillor links. So it might be got a WhatsApp group or a Facebook group. I'm quite happy to get our guys to join them so we can see what's happening and come and get involved with you. I did touch on waste enforcement. We've took on a further 8 officers now for waste enforcement, and we're taking a much harder stance on people that fly tip and dump and don't deal with their waste properly. We've got the staff now and they've been taken on full time. They're just finalising their bits of training, and then they'll be coming to depots to work with us, to work alongside us, and where we find or see that we've got an issue, we will actually start looking to prosecute. I think people have had enough warnings. I have got some information, but I've not got it to hand, but I will share it with you, Councillor. You can send it out to your local groups of the fines that we're doing. You might see some recently in the press, someone in a van dumping asbestos, probably about the most dangerous kind of dumping you could get. That guy taken to court by us, severely fined, etc. And you may have seen another one if you tune into Birmingham Live. Another guy recently, again, is being paid to deliver some catalogues to people's houses. He decided to deliver them in the bushes. Again, that guy was captured on CCTV and subsequently fined. What we're going to be doing is, as we catch people like this, and people that won't take part of being a good citizen, we're going to have a wall of shame. And we're going to put people's pictures and what they've been fined for or prosecuted for, and we're going to make that fully aware in the local communities that these are the people that are doing it. So it might not be someone that lives in your street, it might be someone from another ward, but we plan to name and shame. And then another initiative we're looking at, and this is working with Keep Britain Tidy. So we probably all recognise that name. It's been around for many years, and we've enlisted them for some help and advice. And if we're getting fly tipping, what we're going to be looking to do is to set the fly tipping up like a crime scene. So we'll have some difficult tape where we're going to tape it off, and we're going to leave for a couple of days so people can actually see we're active in the ward or wards. We will remove the waste, obviously, and try and get the information to prosecute. But once we've done our exercises and we've moved away, we'll be putting things like stickers on the floor that says, you know, this was here for 2 days, this is what it would have cost to move, this is what you're doing to our city. So again, a bit of a name and a shame. So waste enforcement, Keep Britain Tidy, really on board with us now. And as I suggested, I think at the last meeting, we're recruiting to all these different posts and all these different initiatives. Today I've spent inducting people. We've got another 12 guys that have come in for the whole city, not just for Penny Bars area. But you know, we're looking to recruit lots of people for the new initiatives to try and start and make a significant difference. One, to the fly tipping, and two, for the for people's what they're doing, whether they're recycling or not, or whether they think it's okay to drop litter, etc., etc. That's what I've got as a way of an update, Councillor. I don't know if anybody's got any questions or queries.
Yes, Les, there's a question in the chat box off Naomi.
1 second, sorry, I haven't got that open.
Yes, I can repeat that one for you. Naomi is asking, can the hours of the mobile units be varied so that people who are working in the day can access them? At the moment, the center starts at 7 and finishes at 12 noon. So could the hours be varied?
Yeah, I mean, we have looked at that, Naomi. Where we've started, we're naturally early birds in waste management. So, you know, we start quite early. And what we're finding is that the mobile HRWC will come out to a road at 7 a.m. and we're not getting the footfall, people coming to us that early, because lots of people, again, the kids was ready for school or getting ready for work. We are looking to fluctuate our times later in the day. But can I assume, Naomi, by your question, you're suggesting that maybe we could put something in place? And I think that's the question you're asking. So lots of people might work till 4 or 5 p.m. Is there something we can do there? I'm not saying no, but we're coming towards the darker, colder months now, and it's something we probably would look at towards the brighter months of in the new year, just after Easter. So I'm not saying no to anything, but we've got to capture as much as we can when people are out and about.
Thank you.
Right. And are there any other questions or comments on this topic? How soon can we expect to see difference on the street there's a question there. Could you read that question for us, Leslie, please?
Yeah, so just to answer that now, I mean, one of what I didn't tell you all the initiatives. I did tell you at the last meeting, which you may not been in. Some of the other initiatives we're doing is where we've got flats above shops. So you got shops, and we're always finding black bags out on the streets. Soho Road or Coventry Road, there's places like that, very high congestion. We put crews in there that will actually come along on more than one collection weekday a week. So we might find that some of these roads will have a black bag collection 2 or maybe 3 times a week. That will keep the black bag waste down that's coming out the flats. And it's not just the main shop front areas like Coventry Road, Soho Road. If we're finding that we got an issue on a corner where you've got 2 or 3 shops with flats above, we will also be doing that again. We'll be going out collecting the sacks 2 to 3 times a week. The fly tipping, again, we've took extra crews on as part of the initiative. And across the city, there's a further 6 crews, I believe, one of which is assigned to Penny Bar, and they're like a fast track fly tipping crew. So some of the initiatives that we're doing, they will be guided and sent out to some of these problem areas. And we keep saying Crick Lane, that's one, which again we cleaned up yesterday, I believe, with the view of 1, clearing it, secondly, getting cameras up, and thirdly, prosecuting. So we're looking to reduce it so far as we possibly can. We've also got at Penny Bar again an extra deep cleaning crew. So if we find we've got an area that's given us lots of problems with litter, general waste on the streets, this crew can go in and give it a right good dig out, clean up, etc. And what we're using there is we survey all our roads monthly, and we're looking at our surveys to find what the worst roads are. We're assigning them crews to work in them areas. But if you do, Councillor, have a road that you feel needs to be, dealt with quite soon and quite deeply cleansed, drop me a note and we can put that on the rate with the work regime for the crew. So Jennifer, you asked the question about elderly residents that can't get to the truck if they've got something that's been in their back garden, a couple of old chairs or something like that. If they can speak to a neighbour, or if they can get our crew and flag them down, we will gladly come and pick it up for them. We can't go and knock everybody's door, and I'm sure you'll understand that, because we have to man the vehicles. But if somebody needs some help, please make us aware. And if it's talk to your neighbour to come and see us, our guys will gladly come and pick up that bit of waste that they've got that they need getting rid of.
Could I ask Leslie Bannister, you might have noticed some questions on the chat box. Could you read them out, please, so that Leslie could respond to them?
Yes, Councillor, I was just responding to the item, the question on Crick Lane, to say I've put in the chat box that will be discussed under the highways item. Where did you get up to, Les?
I think if I pick up on Abby's question about dog fouling.
Oh yeah, dog fouling.
So obviously we do ask people with dogs to be responsible owners. If we do find that we've got, say, a road or an area that's been really heavily dog fouled, please report it. There is dog wardens across the city, and they carry out exercises to come along. So firstly, put stickers on lampposts. They've got some yellow paint that actually doesn't stop on the road too long, but it's a yellow paint, and they will spray the feces to highlight it so everybody can see it. And it's a way of shaming people to do the right thing. Unfortunately, really difficult to catch people. They're out really early or really late walking the dogs. We just want people to be aware that if we catch them, there is a fine involved. But to do the right thing, to be a responsible pet owner. Hopefully that helps. And there's a number of rented houses or houses that have been converted to HMOs, homes of multiple occupation. And they do change, yes, they change frequently and they put stuff out. part of our plans moving forward is to tackle the private landlords. We're doing a big exercise over in Selly Oak, where we've got all the students that come in, and they leave after 3 years. So there's a continual turnover, but we're taking it forward to landlords that let people come in. They might just come into the country and they use the HMOs as a stopgap. We want to start making the landlords responsible for what's coming out. So if we do it and we identify it and it's come from an HMO, the landlord will get potentially the fine, and he passes that on to the resident or ex-resident, but ultimately he gets the fine, or she, sorry.
Right, okay.
Again, part of what we are doing as well is that lots of people, and I use students as an example, lots of people don't drive. Part of our education is to tell people that there's facilities available. So you can book a bulky waste collection and tell them what that looks like. You can go to the local housing tip, council tips, and some people don't know about these. Some people haven't got the transport, but we're going to tell people what they can do rather than just stick it out, because it's just not sticking it out on the street is not the answer. We need to get people to understand that, and we're going to be very, very robust about it moving forward.
Right. From Jennifer, there's another question.
Since the trucks is a free service, and those unable to get to the trucks also get used to the trucks for free door to door. Now, unfortunately, that we can't, because we have to be static people to come to us. If we go to each property, we wouldn't get anywhere in the day. We would get bogged down on the amount of work. So unfortunately, we can't do that. But again, if it is an elderly person or a disabled person, please, if you know that person, or if you can help with by speaking to neighbours or share it on the social networks, get it to us to know, and we will come and help people. I promise you, that's what we're there for.
Right. I can't see any other question, but just my question, Leslie, about street cleansing as well. I don't know if you would be able to respond to street cleansing. It's becoming an issue now. There are some streets that they do get cleaned, but we do know the issue with the cars being parked on both sides of the road, making it difficult for the mechanical sweeper to come round. Could you say something about the litter pickers? Because some residents are saying they are not seeing litter pickers or street sweepers manually on our roads. For example, Whitehall Road, Lansdowne Road, that side. Could you say something about that, please?
So I'll just write that down. Let me take it back about Whitehall, Lansdowne and that immediate area. The problem, some of the problems we see is that nearly everybody now has a car or 2 cars or 3 cars, and that creates us knowing the problems, being able to clean. Part of one of the other things we're doing when we move forward, and I'm going to tell you we're doing it now, but it's in planning stages. We might get a road like Whitehall Road that's really heavily parked up, and we're going to go and do what we call an all-out day. So we'll invite street cleansing, refuse collection, parks guys if there's any parkland, housing guys if there's any housing land, the city engineers or transportation, and we're going to come in and do a real deep clean. So we're going to ask people to move the cars so we can get in and give it a proper clean, because parked cars really hinder us cleaning the streets. We're just working through what that program looks like now. Obviously, in some roads and wards in the city, we don't need to do that because car parking is not such an issue. But in some of these wards, we need to, and that's what we're just planning out now. I'll have to come back to you, Councillor, on Lansdowne and Whitehall. I'll have to have a chat with Justin to see where he's deploying the crews.
And Murdoch Road, Murdoch Road, Shepherd Road.
Yeah. I will say that the HRWC that we've now started putting out, it has put a strain on all the depots because we want to work it, we want it to work. But you probably see on the television there's a national shortage of drivers, and we just can't recruit drivers. So some services are taking a bit of a hit to get some of the other services working. So the mobile HRWC is really, really good, and it's really, really positive, and we want that to work. Some of the areas are taking a bit of hit because of that, but I will speak to Justin about that immediate area, and we'll get a clean-up organised for you.
There's another question that has just come through. Leslie Bannister, could you read it to us, please?
Yeah, I can see. Is there a reason the ward across the road can get their streets swept and others not? Are these street sweepers from the same company and working for BCC? I'd need a specific. I'm not sure who asked the question. Our sweepers are done by ward, so we usually got 2 sweepers per ward. Sorry, 1 sweeper per 2 wards. And what they will do is move between the 2 wards and clean on a regime of, we try to keep it about once a month. So you might see it on the other side of the road because it's another ward on 1 week, but it should get to you in the next month when they're on that next part of the rota. So if you're not seeing that, please let us know, and we can look at the scheduling of the when you say road sweeper, I'm presuming the large ones. I can look at the scheduling of the large ones to make sure they come out. Some wards are slightly more challenging. We're probably noticing in the last week the leaves have really started falling, and again that's putting another strain on us because we can't get the drivers, but we're looking to put crews together now to pick the leaves up as quickly as possible.
Okay, thank you for that, Leslie. And we're going to move on to the next item now because there are no other questions. But I was going to ask if you could say, because the next item also has got, it's the Crick Lane issue. We are trying to find a working solution for Crick Lane, and the issue about dumping is going to come up. I don't know if you could stay maybe for a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'm more than happy to hang around, Councillor.
Oh, thank you. So let's move on to item 4 now, which is highways, and specifically the proposal is to gate Crick Lane between Holly Road and Broughton Road. Briefly, this item has emerged from some residents who live around this part of Crick Lane and who are directly affected by its state, and they feel this part of our lane has become unfit for its purpose over the years, and we must do something about this now. For some time, this part of Crick Lane has deteriorated. We have had an increase in antisocial behavior, crime, excess dumping of household goods and rubbish. This is also dangerous to motorists as it spills over to the road sometimes, and it is also dangerous to pedestrians as it has no footpath. The rubbish dumped is constantly reported to the council and often cleared. As soon as this is cleared, more rubbish is dumped. CCTV that was installed was vandalized. These residents now believe gating this part of the lane is the only option left for them to have peace in their homes, because it is now used as a tip. So I will now hand over to you, Karl, and could you let us know what is possible? And I will only say what is possible about this proposal. Thank you, Karl, for joining us. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Councillor, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Karl Randall, and I'm the Local Engineering Manager for Birmingham North, which includes your ward, along with 22 other wards. So very busy area, a large area to try and tackle all the requests that we do receive. I've looked into the request for gate in Crick Lane. It's not an easy one to do. There are a number of acts to which I've had a look to see which may apply. These include the Planning Act, but this talks about you can stop up or divert a path if it is necessary to allow a development to proceed. This isn't the case on this instance. We have done that in others. There's also the Highways Act. There's a couple of elements within that that allows you to stop up a route if it is no longer needed or necessary as highway. Well, of course, people are still using it. Let's take away the people who are dumping and that. There is still genuine usage for the rear accesses for a reasonably large number of people along there. So we can't say it's no longer needed or necessary. And then the last one, which is potentially something that could be positive, but still not easy, time consuming and expensive, is the Crime and Policing Act, and it's part of the Public Space Protection Order, PSPO. Again, these aren't quick and simple and straightforward. One I was involved in some years ago took many months. It involves liaising with the antisocial behaviour officer, which I propose to do, to see what has been reported already in the past, if anything. If nothing, then we can ask that people get given logbooks, things like that, to try and take note and make a note and report issues such as dumping, crime, antisocial behaviour, burglaries, anything associated with that sort of rear access, if you like, and then a case can be built from there. It's still not quick and it's not easy and it's not designed to be, because a public highway is exactly what it says, a public highway, and it is extremely difficult to stop the usage when people have a lawful right to use it. The problem we have with the PSPO as well, the legislation, it's on a scale of measures, and it could be, as Leslie's mentioned earlier, it could be that bushes need cutting back, it could be that cameras can be installed, there could be a raft of things that can be put in to help catch and address the issues. Gating it isn't the first consideration. On the sliding scale, gating is the last thing when everything has failed. Gating, in the last one I dealt with, the applicant, which was a resident, and I imagine the costs were probably shared with other residents, affected both negatively initially and positively when it was done, all had to pay for it. I'm not saying that's the case in this one. I'm saying that was the case in the last one. So somebody has to pay. So the legal aspect of the stopping up order is several £1,000s. There's consultation, there's adverts in the press, adverts with emergency consultation with emergency services and lots of statutory bodies. There may be utilities down there. There may be gas, water, BT, cable, who knows what utility apparatus runs under the road. They have a right of comment, and they may object. They may say we need access to it. I know we can say we can give them keys, but they have a right of comment and objection to it. Then we have the physical gate at both ends, and it may not just be a gate, it could be palisade fencing as well, because a gate is only a certain width. It's then the padlocks, the keys to all the residents, but then it's a maintenance. It won't be the first gating scheme that we've done, whether it's on a car park, a park, or something like this, that the barrier or the gate or the fencing then gets driven into accidentally or on purpose, vandalised, and then we're faced with, well, who maintains it? If it was a city council asset added to the network, then we would pay a commuted sum, a lump sum based on its risk to our contractors to maintain it. So again, it's all these legal costs, consultation costs, drafting the order, legal services, advert in the press, all of that, which is thousands of pounds. But then it's who pays for the gates and the fencing, and then it's who maintains it thereafter. And some assets are installed at risk. There are many assets on the highway where people have asked for it, people have wanted it. It's been funded through previous ward monies, such as in the old days, local involvement, local action, LILA money, community chest funding, all of the types of funding, but without a maintenance package behind it. When that then gets damaged, there is no money to replace it. So it's a very complex and very expensive process. All I can offer to do is pursue it initially with the antisocial behaviour team and to see what have we got already, what do we know about it that's been logged, and then what can we do going forward to escalate this and elevate it. And then a long time into the future, we can look at the funding and the funding for maintenance if we're able to go further with it. But as Leslie talked about earlier, if there is a chance to get some surveillance, whether that's overt or covert, and with the additional staff and resources being put into trying to catch these people, which I think, if we're all honest, wasn't there before. We didn't have the budget, the resources, and the people to do that. It was, you know, we may have opened a few black bags and tried to have a look through for an address and things like that. This is a lot more sophisticated and a more targeted effort. Then maybe we can try and tackle it that way. Councillor, I'm happy to take any questions.
Right. Let me come back. Yes, thank you for explaining all this, Leslie. It's open, it's there for discussion, and I'm sure the residents of Handsworth Ward who also are affected with these issues. I mean, everybody should come forward and put forward their views, and let's see what we could all do. So I can see Leslie has got a hand up. I'll take Leslie, and I can see A.O.B is asking, can bollards be set each end to prevent vehicles? So let's take Leslie first, and then you can also respond to A.O.B's question.
Yes, thanks for that, Councillor. Karl, I think what might be good for this, obviously we'll have no end of difficulties trying to close the road because it's very well used. It's very well abused as well. We can probably agree that. But can I take the step of linking you up with the Love Your Streets team, because they've got access to the police, the fire brigade, waste enforcement. In fact, they've got their own waste enforcement officers. If we can start doing a joined up approach there to look at it, from my experience, if we get an alleyway or a right way we want to close, you need to get the agreement for every resident. So if you've got half the road agree to it and half the road don't, you're going to be fighting a losing battle, I would argue, to get it closed off. Let's try and get, as I've suggested, surveillance in. Let's put this at the top of our to-do list with a view of catching who's doing it. But more importantly, once we've caught somebody, because we will undoubtedly, stick some proper signage up, like we did up in Quinnen. Local resident caught tipping, fined £20,000. When we did that over in Quinnen, we never then since had one dumping issue again since. So maybe we should do that in the, if residents want you to try and get it closed, obviously try and carry on with that. But meanwhile, if we can show working together, we can make that positive difference. I think it's something we need to pick the mantle up and run with.
Yeah, thank you, Leslie, and that would be good. There have been private alleyways and access ways, not public rights of way. For example, in Stockland Green, a large number of rear accesses, access by vehicles to garages, etc., were gated with City Council assistance, with some kind of proceeds of crime or whatever funding. That assistance was given and gates were put up. It didn't fully remove the problem. People dumped at the gates, people dumped over the gates and through the gates, people damaged the gates, and then they were coming to the City Council to say, well, you know, you helped us gate it, now can you help us with repairs, can you remove what's been dumped at it? A resident left it open, didn't put the padlock back, and now there's dumping inside. It's not always the answer people think it is, or sorry, I should say, it's not always a solution. It doesn't always work. And the other thing I never mentioned, people may have in their deeds or whatever a right of access, a private right for residents to access, and we may simply not be allowed ultimately to close it because of permitted rights that residents have, even though a number of residents will say this is what they want. It does only take one or two to say, well, actually, you're infringing on my rights, and no, you know, I don't want to have to open a gate and close a gate and be financially responsible, perhaps in the future if anything happens. So much better to try and target it, catch the people and stop it that way, than to rely on gating it, which could just, you know, create a problem in the future, which I have experienced in other wards.
Yeah, I'm quite happy to, hopefully, Councillor, you're happy for us to take that step as well. From my experience, from my 30 plus years, if we gated, they did it where I live over in South Yardley. They gated all the rear entryways, which did stop the dumping. But if you ever find an entryway that's not locked, and what we find is that happens a lot, that attracts dumping more than anything. And again, if we can capture these people doing it and fine them and publicly shame them, people are going to be less likely to do it. So again, I'll outside of this meeting, Karl, I'll make some contacts and that, and we'll get it moving forward with Crick Lane being at the top of that part of the city's list, for somewhere to look at with surveillance, with prosecutions, etc.
That would be brilliant.
Thank you for that, Leslie. There's a question from A.O.B. Can bollards be set each end? Could you say something about bollards? Say if what we're gonna try, what Leslie is hoping to help with, to try and see if we can stop by taking more steps. Could we move on to erecting bollards to stop the cars, but still allow pedestrians to go through? What could you say something about that one?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for the question. It is one of the options if the route of a stopping up order was ultimately taken for whatever reason, then it wouldn't have to be gating. Gating was something mentioned obviously by residents through yourself and to me, but gating is one of many options, which also does include bollards. There could be a couple of fixed bollards, but then there'd have to be a couple of lockable bollards or retractable or whatever as the middle ones to allow the vehicular access as and when required. These, in our experience, are even more vulnerable than the gates. They still cost around £350, £400 each. Even more less likely, if somebody took out a bollard or two to gain access, in our experience, they don't immediately pull up and put them back in and lock them and then go about the business. the bollards are even more vulnerable to getting hit, damaged, and just simply not replaced. It's seen as, you know, too much trouble, and we have these in numerous roads all over the city and local centres, and it is a big problem with people just not putting them back. So it's an option, but it's not as good as gating.
Yeah. Okay, Jennifer.
Hello, I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, we can.
Oh, you can. Oh, lovely. Okay. I was asking about Rookery Road in Handsworth. What will the impact be for those living off the Rookery Road and surrounding roads after consideration has been made for a one-way system of traffic on the Regent Road, Hamilton Road, Carlton Avenue, Farcraft Avenue, Westbourne Road? What will the impact be for everybody else?
Oh, thanks for your question, Jennifer. But I think the area you are asking is actually in Holyhead Ward. So I don't know whether Karl you deal with that side, but it is outside our Handsworth Ward, Jennifer, because our boundary ends with Rookery Road.
But even so, it's still in Handsworth, it's still Rookery Road, it's still where I live. So no matter where the boundary is, or no matter where the ward is,
are you in Handsworth Ward?
Yes.
Oh, which road are you?
I'm on Alfred Road.
Alfred Road. Okay, that's fine. So you are asking a question for them on the other side.
Yes.
But I wouldn't, because councillor for Holyhead really need to pick up the issues for that ward. So I could take that question up with my colleague and say that there was a question asked, but it would be helpful if the question was asked in Holyhead, because the residents of Holyhead would be there.
Yeah,
so
but
shall we?
Is Karl able still to tell us what, by making a few roads one way, could it possibly have an impact on those around?
Yeah, because if we dwell on that question now, we're gonna run out of our time. So I'm gonna ask Karl, could you pick up the question and address it with Councillor, my colleague for Holyhead, Councillor Hamilton, and then so that we don't run out of time with the items that we've got. Is that okay, Jennifer? We are going to address your question.
Oh, but not here tonight, no.
Yeah, not tonight. Shall we take Naomi? Naomi, your hand is up.
You're on mute, Naomi, at the moment.
Sorry. I just want to agree with Jennifer. This is to do with Handsworth Ward. We have a boundary on Rookery Road, but a one-way system right close to us could have an impact. So when her question is, have other streets been made aware of these changes? I think we do need to be aware of it, and I don't think we should have I think we should discuss it at least briefly and be told what that consultation process could mean.
Right. Okay. Karl, could I don't know how long that, because the process of one way and so on, it might take long. But do you want to say something briefly? But we are not allowed. We've got a protocol. We cannot discuss matters from other wards in other wards. We've got that protocol and we have to keep to it, which is why I would really prefer that Karl, we take it with the councillor on that ward. If we want to have a joint meeting with neighbouring wards, we could arrange that, which is something that we already do anyway. We do when we have got issues that are overlapping. So yeah, I'm afraid, Karl.
I can do a very
just something briefly to that. Yeah.
Okay. I do look after Holyhead, all the Perry Bar wards, Handsworth wards, Sutton Erdington. I was at the meeting with Councillor Hamilton and Councillor Zaffa on an unrelated matter, where we were traffic calming Regent Road and Westbourne Road, and it was asked about a low traffic neighbourhood scheme for those roads, which basically is like a one-way blocking off roads, making like a gyratory. There is no guarantee that that will happen. The commitment was, could funding be identified for a feasibility study? The feasibility study would then look at exactly what you're concerned about. What are the implications of the scheme? How could it work? And what's the effect on the neighbouring roads? And to my knowledge, that it hasn't got even, you know, as far as the funding for the feasibility yet. So I think be reassured, it's a long way off. It's not guaranteed to happen, but there would be a full feasibility and consultation beforehand.
Okay. All right, thank you. I just have another question now, Karl. Now that we are looking into this Crick Lane issue, and we want to try what is possible and try and find a solution, could we set up another say a working group or people who are interested in this, say about 10 people, and the people will actually work on this item together with us, the council, but outside this meeting, and say if we give it like 6 months, and then after 6 months they come back and we can see what's going on in that. Would that be a good idea?
I'd absolutely be welcome being involved, yes.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I'm going to ask if there are people who are interested to work around this part of Crick Lane, to find a solution to end the issues that are concerning there. Could you please email me, and then we will take from there. So, are there any other questions for Karl?
Naomi and I can't see who the other person is. There's 2 more hands up.
2 more hands up. Okay.
Naomi's hand is up.
Naomi, would you like to come back?
Naomi and Abby both had their hands up.
Naomi. Yes.
Naomi, you're on mute.
I don't know if you know the answer to this. The works that are going on in Ox Hill Road are having a terrible effect on the streets nearby, including Antrobus Road, where there's terrible gridlock morning and night, and even buses coming down the road. Road rage, cars damaged. It's not good. Do you have any information about that?
Yeah, so there's quite a lot of utility works going on at the moment. We had several weeks, if not a few short months, of gas work. And now we have quite a lot of Severn Trent water works. Severn Trent have had quite a difficulty with the amount of parked vehicles, which has hampered the work and meant it's gone extremely slow compared to the normal programme that they would have hoped to achieve. We know it's had some knock-on effect on the local roads, because there's 1 or 2 people who contact me who are part of residents associations, etc., and that brought it to my attention. That was yesterday and today, and I wrote to our service provider Kia Highways, and I've asked Kia to send the streetworks inspector out to try and have a look and see what we can do to ease the situation. Kia, the streetworks people, are responsible for overseeing the city's utilities, gas, water, electric, BT, etc. Everybody who digs up and works on the highway, while they have a permitted right to do so, they have to apply to the City Council for a notice. They have to book the road space, and they have to comply with legislation, which is a New Roads and Streetworks Act. Hence why I've asked Kia Streetworks officers to go out and to have a look and to liaise with Severn Trent on trying to help ease the situation. Obviously, things never get resolved because, once work start taking place, temporary traffic signals and main signals amended, etc. It does cause a knock-on effect to people's normal daily journeys and that. But we are also well aware of some of the more antisocial type of behaviour from some people who are driving through. More recently, 2-3 weeks ago perhaps, we had to have fencing added because people were driving across a footway to get through where they shouldn't, where the road was closed. They'd just bump up the curb and drive over. And it's a sort of type of behaviour that wasn't expected by the utility company, and it didn't allow for that in their traffic management, because you wouldn't anticipate people driving like that, for such a disregard to safety and the law. So the council are aware of it, and I've made Kia aware of it and asked that they look into it and try and ease the situation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, and Abby, your hand is up. Would you like to ask a question? Can you hear me? What has happened? Can you hear me? Leslie, can you hear me?
I'm just readmitting Abby. I think she was having problems. I'm just letting her back into the meeting.
Okay. Abby?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have raised my hand. Not yet.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Right. Jennifer?
Oh, hi. I wanted to know, since it's highways, have you got anything to do with the installation of toilets, public toilets for Soho Road?
Sorry, was you asking about installation of toilets on Soho Road?
Yes, public toilets.
Okay. In what regard? What's the wider context of your question, please?
We haven't got any public toilets. There used to be one attached to the library, and there used to be one on the 11 bus route, which was for the public, but now there's none at all.
Right. Yeah. Unfortunately, I wouldn't be able to answer. Highways, we don't sort of install or remove public toilets. There would be a section, Leslie might be able to help me with that. There would be a section within the council that would have been looking at the removal, for whatever reason, of previous public toilets. The only newer ones that went in some years ago were the sort of JC Deco ones, that sort, where you'd put an amount of money in it. I've never used one, if it's 50 pence or whatever, and you've got so long in there before the door opens, kind of thing. But no, highways wouldn't normally be involved in that unless a proposal was to put some in on the highway, and we would be a consultee as part of the application.
Okay. Right. Karl, thank you so much for your answering the questions. And now we're going to move on to the next item.
Thank you.
So, which is future meeting topics. We usually ask residents to submit their items for agenda. We do receive your responses, and thank you. Some of the issues you raise could be dealt with through council's casework systems, where the relevant departments respond. So you can always email me these inquiries. So what items could we bring here for information and discussion? Although I cannot guarantee to have them all at the next meeting, but we will try to accommodate as many as we can. You may also put these in the chat function. Are there any items? Let me see. Are there any hands?
Abby's put in a comment about can we have an update on the leisure centre? And can that go on the as an irregular agenda item, in particularly the play centre use and the future plan?
Yes, we could. Yes, we could list it, and then we see if we could get the manager.
Okay, I'll make a note. I'll put in the chat. The next meeting is the 18th of Jan. 2022.
Yeah, I would say we could communicate the next meeting. Is that okay, Leslie? If we
Yes.
communicate it
Yeah.
at the next meeting. So
Jennifer's asked for an update on the clean air zone at the next meeting, Jennifer.
Yes, I was just wondering if there could be an update on the effects of the surrounding communities. Oh, have I locked you up? Is there anybody that can discuss it, or is that something that's going to be brought up at the next meeting?
yes, we can have that, Leslie. I think we should be able to get somebody from the team, clean air zone team.
Well, because we've got a date set for the 18th of January. I can put a request in now for an officer to attend, if that's what you'd like.
Yeah, we just say yes. The next meeting. Yeah.
Okay.
Update on exempt pilots in our ward. Yeah. Yes. Could you add that one as well?
Yeah, I'll ask for an update on that. Do you want an officer to attend for an update, or do you want a written update in between?
No, we would want yeah, let us allow people to raise all these, and then
Okay.
we can send them out with email, so that people can still respond, because not everybody might submit their items now.
Okay.
Yeah, if it's all right, we will still send email out so that we can try to capture the views from the whole ward.
Okay.
From those people who are responding. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Well,
so
I'll probably send the email out early December because of Christmas.
Yeah.
Asking for agenda items to everybody on the contact list.
Yeah.
Is that okay, Councillor Quinnen?
Yes, that would be good. Thank you, Leslie.
Thank you.
And item 6, any other business? Is there anything you would like to raise? Is there anything on the chat box, Leslie?
No, there's not. I can't see anything. I think we've had a couple of good nights already. So.
Okay. So, all right. So that brings us to the end of our meeting. So have a good night, and if you will be having the short break, have a happy holiday. I close the meeting.
Okay.
Thank you, Councillor. Good night.